This is going to be the last video in the Deathrun Mapping Tip series, and I'm going to show you how to create a basic minigame just to finish your map off. So, as you can see here, I've just got a very basic example map here. There aren't actually any traps, but for this video, just pretend that there are traps and that the map's bigger than it actually is. So there's the spawn, here's the win options. If you've watched my previous video on how to create a win option, you should have something like this with a trigger once and a game round win. And when you touch that, you win the round. But that's a bit boring by itself. You want to have at least one minigame in your map. So if I go over here, I'll show you an example obby race that I've created. It's not finished though, because at the moment it's just the brushes with a divider, so they can't shoot each other or attack each other. And then there's a trigger hole on the floor, so if you fall down, you die. Now, what you want to do to get this to work is, first of all, you need a trigger for the obby at the end. So let's make that. So trigger once. Now, because it's going to be instant, you don't really need to worry about killing the brushes. Of course, if you got a delay or anything, you will want to do that. But for this video, to just get this basic minigame working, you're just gonna need some teleport brushes, and you're just gonna have to do some triggers at the end. So let's start off by making our teleport destinations, because we can't get here without teleport destinations. So let's do one here. This is going to be for the reds, and let's set that to the right rotation, and I'm going to call this minigame red destination. And I'm going to shift and drag that over here to copy it, and then I'm going to call this one minigame blue destination. Now, if you go over here, back to the option, we're gonna have to create a teleport brush. Now, you can either just create the brush around the Deathrun, or if your map's really complicated, you can just make a big brush and use a filter and just put it around the whole map. But for this, for something like this, something basic, this will be sufficient. But if your map's quite complicated, you're going to want to do a big brush around it, because it just makes things a bit less messy, and it reduces the chances of any issues. Always make sure clients is checked, otherwise it won't do anything even if it gets enabled. Make sure start disabled is on yes, because if it's enabled to begin with, then everybody will just teleport to the obby when they spawn, and you don't want that. This is the filter key value if you want to just add a filter, because if you do a big box over the whole thing, it will end up teleporting both sides to the wrong place. And remote destination is what we're going to use. So this is going to be the red destination, and I'm going to call this minigame red teleport. Now I'm going to just shift drag that over here and put that like this. And then I'm going to call this blue teleport. It doesn't really matter what you call them, as long as it's consistent and it has the right right values. So what we do here now is on start touch, blue teleports, enable. You could call them the same thing and it would still work because their destinations are already separate, but I still like to give them a separate name just in case I want to do anything to them. And it also helps if you're selecting them so you know exactly which one it is. Right, so these are going to enable. So as soon as you go in here, you're going to teleport you and everybody else over here to their respective sides. So when you come across and get to the end, you need to sort out like what's going to happen there. So we're going to want a trigger once over here, and then set that to trigger the round win entity. So on start touch. Now we already have a game round win entity for red side, so we don't need to create another one. There's no point in doing that because it's just a waste. It's just a wasted edict if you do that. Try to recycle entities if you can, because if you're making a big map with a lot of entities, it can become an issue. Although if this is your first map, it probably won't be an issue because you're unlikely to be using that amount of entities, but it is something to be aware of. Over here we're going to want to create another game round win for the blue team. So on here it's just going to be, well, let's help if we change the settings first. Blue win. Blue win. Yeah, blue win, round win. Now we don't have to do anything else to that because the game will sort the rest out. Only one team can win, so whoever gets there first is going to win. It doesn't matter if blue gets there a second later, because you can't win if the other team's already won. Now, there is one other thing you can do here. If you don't want players to die, like I've got a trigger hurt here that just kills anyone who falls on it. If you want players to teleport back, then you just do the same thing. So we'll set this to a teleport, and you've got to make sure you set it to the right side. So we'll set this to minigame a red destination. You don't have to name this because this is in the minigame, and red will always be on this side and it's always going to be enabled. So you don't have to give it a name, and you don't want it to be disabled. You want this one to always be on. So if they fall down here, they're going to be sent back here. And then you just do the same on this side. But instead of going to the red destination, you want it to be the blue destination. Otherwise, they'll start killing each other because they'll get sent to the same side. And this will work. In fact, I'm going to leave it like this so you can see. But if you don't want them to teleport back, just do a trigger hurt. So that's pretty much it. Of course, when you make your run, you can make it a bit longer and a bit more complicated. I've just made this easy as an example. So I'm going to compile this and show you how it works. Right, I've had to do this in windowed mode because OBS doesn't seem to like recording TF2 in full screen, and Fraps doesn't seem to want to let Windows Movie Maker import its files. Now, I should have put a TF Logic Arena on here, but it doesn't really matter. So let me just go over here. I mean, I'm only testing if the obby works. So you go in and you get teleported here. So if you fall down, you teleport back, just as I said. Now, let me go over to the other side. Of course, I get killed with medic. And I can't actually respawn for 10 seconds. But, trust me, it's gonna work. And when you get to the end, you're gonna win. I should have put Buddha mode on. So, let me do that. Now, because I haven't put a logic arena in the map, that's why it hasn't reset. So when I respawn, I'm just respawning back here because the teleport is still enabled. Obviously, when you die on arena, when everyone's dead, the round's gonna reset. So let me go over here. Let me fall off. You'll see I teleport back here. Now, if I complete this,
victory!
And you'll see that the teleport resets like it would in if I had died in arena mode there. Yeah, see, it works, and I hope this has helped you make your first mini game in your first map. Just make sure you have a TF Logic arena, of course. Well, I thought I'd add on a part about making sure you have a Logic arena. So, TF Logic arena. You must have this in your map if it's a Deathrun map. I mean, you don't have to have it if you're just testing, but just make sure you've got it in the map when you're done with it. And over here, I thought I'd just show you what it looks like if you do have a trigger hurt. So let's do that again. You could also add the fall damage type so people know that you've fallen off and that's why you've died. So let me show you what this looks like quickly. Okay, this is how it should look like, except I'm on blue team now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The point is now available for capture.
Luckily there's no filter, so I can still set it off. Now if I jump down, die, and the round's over. Now, one other thing you could do is you could have a trigger hurt on the red side, and then a trigger teleport on the blue side, so if blue falls down, they get to start again. 4, 3, so 2, that way the round isn't like over after 5 seconds because blue's really bad and dies instantly. But it still makes sure red dies. And it can also balance things out a bit, so Hale gets to try a few times, while red only gets one chance. Well, Hale or blue gets to keep trying until until one of the reds makes it to the end, or they make it to the end. So yeah, that's something else you could do. Definitely experiment with it. You could always try having some moving things in the obby section if you want to be a bit more dynamic. And yeah, I think that's that.